Hello and welcome. My name's David Ridgway and welcome to Kirklees Local TV's Weekly Wind-Up. This is where we bring you a digest of the weekly news. We aim to be informative, interesting, amusing and provocative. We will be discussing 3 topics this week: trampolining, fireworks and Remembrance Sunday. To help us with these matters, I've got 2 guests, Jane Bates from the Kirklees Rebound Club and Kyle Warwick, a resident panellist who comes from Marsden. As always, we need feedback from you. The Weekly Wind-Up can always be contacted on info@kirkleeslocaltv.com and you can search on Twitter at Weekly Wind-Up. Jane, can we start with you and your trampolinists? Give me a little bit of history to the Rebound Club.
Okay, well the Rebound Club was set up 40 years ago, always been based in the sports centre. Barry Peaker, who's our head coach, was one of the founding members, and the club's been really successful. We've had 2 world champions, an Olympic reserve, numerous British champions, Yorkshire champions. We regularly have people in Yorkshire and British squads.
Excellent.
So it's been a really successful, competitive and recreational trampoline club.
Excellent. So how many members do you have at the moment?
We have about 150 people that trampoline every week through different groups. And
what sort of ages are they?
They're from 6 right through to adults.
Now you were telling me earlier on that you've had a go, but you're not a trampolinist yourself.
No, it's hard work. It's and you've got to have a little bit of a daring edge, really. It's quite exhilarating, quite an exciting sport, really.
So Jane, do you have a waiting list for your club?
We've about 250 people waiting.
So you really need bigger premises?
We do. We could do so much more.
And how's it going to be when you moved up to the new sports centre?
When we move up there, we have got space allocated there to use 4 trampolines. We're only using 2 at the moment, so that will ease the waiting list. But going through the process, we have over the last 2 years with Cal talking about what sessions we would have and things. We've looked at different options and we have got the possibility to build our own dedicated centre. And that would enable us to use 8 trampolines plus a sunk trampoline and a pit, which would
sunk trampoline.
One that's into the ground, so it's level with the ground, so it's fantastic for rebound therapy and working with people with disabilities.
So you can literally walk straight onto it instead of having to climb up.
Yeah. It's great for training as well. If you're learning a new move that's quite complicated, it's a lot easier if you're at ground level.
Do you have soft cushions all the way around the outside?
All the trampolines have mats round the springs, but they also have mats all the way around them, and the upstanding ones have what we call end decks, which are big mats that are at trampoline height at the ends.
I've never ever thought of having a trampoline at floor level. And when you think about it, it makes you wonder why they aren't all at floor level.
I know there is a club in York, and they're part of a gymnastics club, and trampolines were used as a training tool for gymnastics and diving and astronaut training. That was where they were developed. And they are all floor level, but there's been a real move, and competition trampolines are all regulation height. If you go to a competition, they will always be upstanding trampolines.
Right, okay, so where's your new dedicated place going to be?
Hopefully, if we can get funding secured or somebody to agree to build it for us, it will be at North Trust School at Fartown.
Do you think you might be able to carve out a bit of money from the educational trust that they've got up at the North Trust School?
I don't know. We're looking at various options, various routes to build. Obviously, there are various different grants that are available to sports clubs, and we are a registered charity as well. And there, we are looking at ways of some construction companies will build and lease it back to you for a period of time, and then ownership reverts to you at the end. So there's different routes for us to look down. It's just finding that right route.
So your story with regard to the move up to the new sports centre does not parallel the indoor bowlers.
Yeah, as I understand it, I think I have not been party to all the meetings that they've had with them. I have had some discussions with the bowlers. Obviously, all the different sports clubs that are there have had discussions, and as I understand it, they were on the plans, they weren't on the plans, and that is similar to us in that we were told we had dedicated space, and then we didn't have. But I think it does hark back to the new sports centre was planned so many years ago that the actual need and the usage of the current one doesn't reflect what was happening then, and so they're having to revisit it and look at how the new sports centre is going to be used. But for us, we have spent a lot of time working with Cal, and they have been very supportive, and we have managed to get sessions that will enable us to carry on the club there. So the club will continue, but it's just we've got this fantastic opportunity to do so much more.
So you were telling me before we came on air that you need a certain height.
Yeah, we need at least 10 metres, ideally 12 metres. Some of the top trampolinists now are jumping at 9-10 metres, and when you're doing triple somersaults at that height, it does get a bit scary. You don't want to be risking jumping into the ceiling. No. How do you fancy that, Kyle?
I used to do a bit of trampolining in the summer when I was a kid. A group down at the old sports hall in Huddersfield, which called Little Rascals, which was like a summer group, and you got to do all sorts of different things. And I really enjoyed trampolining. And I think it's one of those sports that not everybody is into football or rugby or hockey or netball, so the more opportunities there are for people to take part in various different sports, the better it is. I think there is definitely a sport out there for everybody. It's just about giving people that opportunity to do it. And seeing as though health is such a massive part of, it seems, every political campaign, it's only right that they provide a diverse range of sports around the country for people to take part in.
So you feel that there should be provision for all sorts of sports, and do you think the council should make that provision?
I'm not sure it should be solely on the council. I think when in these situations with the bowlers and with the trampolinists at the new sports centre, when you've been told you are going to be given a dedicated space, and then later on down the line during building you're then told that that space isn't going to be available for you.
That's hard.
It is hard.
Do you think the council's role is more to facilitate stuff rather than actually provide?
Yeah, I think more and more that is going to have to be the way that the council works, providing information on how people can go about getting funding, because I just don't think the council, certainly with the austerity measures that are in place at the moment, the council just don't really have that spare money there to... People will look at sport as a leisure activity rather than something that is essential to somebody's day-to-day life. So I think that the majority of people would prefer the council to or appropriate their money to more important things and facilitate groups like yourselves in terms of finding funding, finding a place for them to put the buildings or hold the meetings and things like that.
So how does your club serve the community, Jane?
Well, we've got 150 people that are enjoying the sport, and 250 that are waiting to do the sport. And it is really good exercise, and it's enjoyable, and as you said earlier, particularly for girls. We do have boys that trampoline, everybody's free to have a go, but it is really good for keeping girls in sport, particularly teenage girls, which is a real a hot spot. It's a real topic at the moment about how you keep girls in sport. And again, we carry on through, and they can get more involved in the club, and they've got opportunities. We help them with judging or becoming coaches themselves, and then that's great for their CVs when they want to go on and do other things. It's
when you were talking about the awards and championships that the club has won over the years, have they mainly been won by lady trampolinists?
No.
By the girls?
No,
So
the world champions and Olympic reserve were men.
That's interesting.
British champions have been women and men.
We're going to take a break there. This has been an interesting story for me because, as I say, I've known nothing about trampolining, but I do wish you good luck into the future, and I do hope that you'll keep us informed as to how things progress. As always, we need feedback from you. The Weekly Wind-Up can always be contacted on info@kirkleeslocaltv.com, and you can search on Twitter @Weekly Wind-Up. Thank you. And welcome back. We're now going to talk about Remembrance Day and about Firework Day. Kyle, are you going to a bonfire party tonight?
I am going to be doing, yeah. I think there's a couple going on in Marsden, so I'm probably going to get myself down to one. Bake some parking at the weekend.
Well, the big one at Croston Moor, of course, took place last weekend. Yeah. That's been and gone, and it's now a flattened field again. But do you think there should be any restrictions on the sale of fireworks?
Having worked in a supermarket in a previous job role, I know that the way that supermarkets sell fireworks has become massively more regulated now. There's a lot of mystery shoppers going into shops, or people being sent into shops to attempt to buy fireworks. And there was a period of a month and a half before fireworks went on sale where we were given booklets and talks and meetings about the protocol for selling fireworks. And I think you're a lot more in danger of being prosecuted if you go into a shop and buy fireworks for somebody and hand them on to somebody else. So I think there is a lot better regulations about fireworks safety now. Does that mean that fireworks aren't going to get into the hands of people who are too young to use them safely? I don't think it does. I think there's always going to be that arising. So I think schools always do a lot around bonfire night on fire safety, but I think there's always that risk that somebody will be injured.
I do know that the fire authority places an enormous pressure on fire prevention, and they have a busy day. However much they try and talk about this, and however much they try to educate the public, it's always a busy day. Jane, will you be going to a bonfire party tonight?
Yes, we probably will. We've got 2 children, so yeah, we'll
be
going
parking?
to. No, I haven't yet. I'm a bad mum.
Are you going to be making it this afternoon?
I better do, hadn't I?
And baked potatoes in the embers. It's part and parcel of the British way of life. November the 5th, bonfire plot. Do you know what it's all about?
Guy Fawkes.
Guy
in
Fawkes.
the House of Parliament.
Yes, Carl.
Well, no, I mean, it is. I think a lot of the history does get lost in bonfire night. I think it's much more of a celebration now than it is about the history of the event. I think that's possibly something that you learn about in infant school.
But they still burn a guy down in Lewis.
Oh, I mean, I think that's standard wherever you go.
But it's a different bloke every year.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know who they're going to do tonight.
Yeah,
it's probably Nick Clegg again. Yeah. But there we are. So, how dangerous do you think fireworks are?
I think in the wrong hands, fireworks are very dangerous. That's, I think that goes without saying. They are, at the end of the day, well, in some cases not even small. They're explosions, aren't they? And that is dangerous. Yeah. I think handled properly by the right people, they are extremely enjoyable. Put in the hands of, let's say, irresponsible people, and they are a danger.
Indeed they are. And of course Huddersfield has got a very good name for fireworks, with Standard Fireworks being up across the moor there. Right, lovely. Thank you very much for that. We'll move on. So please take care tonight. Take care this weekend if you're having your bonfire party over the weekend. It's important to read the instructions on the sides of the fireworks. They are dangerous, but they do give a lot of pleasure. And we'll move on to our last topic, which is Remembrance Day. Now, today, November the 5th, Remembrance Day, November the 11th. And this year we're commemorating the outbreak of the First World War, something which, despite my great age, I don't remember, and I suspect there's not very many people around who do. Nevertheless, what does Remembrance Day mean to you, Jane?
It means a lot. My parents, obviously, they were born at the back end of the Second World War, and so their parents were more involved in it. They were closer to it, but it fundamentally underpins everything that we've got now. It was such a huge sacrifice that all those people made, and it wasn't just the men that went away to war and didn't come back. It was all the families and everybody. And I think we should never ever forget it. It should always be remembered.
Yes, I have to say that I tend to agree. 100 years on though, have you seen this field of poppies at the Tower of London?
I've seen pictures of it. It looks absolutely incredible.
Well, I was down in London in the summer and I saw it half full. The moat between the roadway outside the tower and the tower itself was half full. The poppies were already tumbling out of the two windows. I just find the whole thing quite extraordinary. But, Carl, we were talking about this very briefly before we came on. We're told that the display will be taken away the day after Remembrance Day. And yet, Transport for London cannot organise its transportation in order to get the people who want to see it to the Tower of London. What's that all about?
For me, I think taking it down straight after the 11th, I think that would be, just extremely short-sighted to me anyway. I think, especially with it being 100 years, that should be a part of it for the entire year. As well, I think it like you say, there's so many people attempting to go and see it and want to go and see it who are currently not able to get there. The longer you leave it there, the more people go to see it, the more people appreciate exactly what it is about. And it's one of those things. I remember going to Belgium on a school trip when I was in high school, and we were shown pictures of the grave sites and the cemeteries, and you get a general appreciation of the scale, but when you actually get there, to see it expanding beyond your view, beyond the horizon, it moves you in a very different way than a picture can move you. And I think that is something as well at the Tower of London, that is something that you can see in pictures, but yes, it's going to move you in a very different way when you're actually there.
Absolutely right. It's exceptionally moving, exceptionally moving. And will you be going to Remembrance Day service on Sunday?
Hopefully, if it fits in with trampolining, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, we've got two new names on the memorial in Marsden Park now. Quite an extraordinary situation in that two families lobbied the council to have these two names added. One was a gentleman who died in February 1945, and his widow had asked that his name should not be added to the war memorial because she was a pacifist. But she's now deceased, and his family has asked that his name should be put on, and anybody can ask at any time for a name to be added. And the second name was for a soldier who died in Northern Ireland in the 1980s, and both these names have now been added, and there was a big ceremony in July. Yeah, did you get to see that?
I didn't, no.
It was, I was unable to be there unfortunately because I was on holiday, but it was quite extraordinary. We're having a big do in Slathwaite. The vicar, the representative of the Royal British Legion, the Scout Master, and I have discussed how it's going to happen. It just grows every year, and I just find the whole thing quite extraordinary. Do you know how many years there have been since the end of the Second World War when the British Army has not been in conflict somewhere in the world?
I would say it's a single digit.
Yeah, I would have thought very, very few.
1 year.
Because I was going to ask the question, at what point do we start and learn and change?
Well, we don't.
What we do.
We
don't.
No. I think a major thing for me about Remembrance Sunday, and this is something that, or certainly this year really, something that's been really big for me is what we are, not just remembering the people, but remembering what those people fought for.
Exactly.
Which was our freedoms, and especially to do with the Second World War. It was massively to do with fighting fascism and putting fascism down. And I think there's a lot of far-right groups now that are tending to use the remembrance of fallen soldiers to progress or to publicise their campaigns, and really ignoring the fact that actually what people were fighting against in the Second World War is what they're promoting. So
Yes, I quite agree, and at the same time I do find it difficult that the people who make comment that Remembrance Day is the glorification of war have really missed the point. It is the remembrance of peace. And I think on that note we should probably close. Have a great weekend. Jane, thank you so much for coming in and telling us about your Rebound Club. Kyle, thank you very much for coming on. It's good to see you again. But we want to hear from you. The weekly wind-up is nothing without the comments coming back from its audience. And you can always contact us on info@kirkleeslocaltv.com and search for us on Twitter @weekly windup. Thanks very much. See you next week.